Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my pink Pixie Bougainvillea. The last time I worked on this tree, I repotted it, gave it a new front, a new kind of potting angle, and then I just let it grow for the whole summer, letting it recover from that root pruning. And today I'm going to prune it back. I'm going to start on this thick lower branch, which has a new shoot that's grown all the way up here, and it's beginning to flower on the top again. So I want to prune all this whole tree back before all this new growth comes in. Here's a view of the back of that branch. So you can see there's a lot of shoots coming in on the back here. There's one coming in underneath the branch, and I have one coming in right out front here. So if I prune off that vertical section, these will develop, and then I can further prune them in the future. So that vertical shoot has to come off. All right, here I go. I'm going to snip that vertical shoot off the top. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to prune it off right here. So here I go. Just like that. Here's where I pruned that branch off right here. You can see there's also another branch coming out the front, and I want to prune away anything that's kind of crossing the trunk line. So I'll trim off that vertical shoot and the one that's growing towards the right. All right, here I go, pruning this one off first. Pruning the vertical one off. Like that. And then there's another little one here I can take off also. That leaves me with a shoot here, and one back here, and one over here. I think I'd rather develop these two and get rid of this one. It's kind of going vertical, so I'll take that one off also. So I'll come in here, snip it off, like that. That gets that branch under control. The next branch here comes out and it divides from 1 into 2 here, and then it divides into kind of 3 here. I might have to clean that up a bit. The branch at the back's good. I'm going to prune off this vertical section here, pruning it back quite far to here. That's come off. I'm going to prune this vertical section off shorter to here, like that. Out front I have another vertical section here. I'm going to prune it off to here, like that. And then I don't like this one kind of crossing on the inside here. I'm going to take that right off. This branch is kind of long. Let me show you it from above, and I'll show you what I mean. It's kind of long without much movement or taper. I may have to trim it back. Here's a look at that branch from above, and you can see how it kind of comes out front there, and it's kind of, it doesn't have much movement. I think I'd better prune it back short or eliminate it totally. I'm thinking shortening it would be the solution. There's a better view of that branch. So I think I better shorten it. I'm wondering, do I need it? I don't think I really need it, because in this area here I have one branch growing above another. So you can see the origin of the skinny branch comes from underneath this branch. So I think I'm just going to take that right off. So here I go. Like that. Just clean it up a bit. There, that's better. Oh, that looks much cleaner, that branch now. Looks quite nice. So I think these 2 lower branches are fixed up now. I've got some vertical shoots happening on this branch. And this branch, I have one coming to the side, which is not directly above this one. It's kind of going to the back, which is good. But then there's another one. There's kind of 2 branches growing from one spot here. I don't know if it's worth doing anything about it. If we rotate it around, you can see that probably at one time, you know, it was one branch dividing to two, and then they thickened up and it just looks like two branches coming from one spot. Let me see. I think I need those branches there. It kind of fills in a space on this side. Maybe just shorten them. Let's try shortening them. Especially this one at the back here. You can see it growing up tall. So I'll prune it to a more horizontal shoot back here. Right into here. Like that. That helps. And then there's a vertical one coming up here. I can prune it back shorter to here. You know, pruning just above an outside facing bud. There's a dead leaf here I can remove. Okay, so that really improves that area on the tree. It looks much better now. I think the branches here are quite nice. This one, I'm not keen of the one going vertical here. I've got, you know, one coming here. I could just shorten that to an outward facing bud, maybe to right here. I think that'll improve that. And then I want to shorten the apex down. It's getting quite tall. Here's a look at the top of the tree, and you can see, you know, it's losing that rounded canopy on the top. So I've got a lot of kind of tall vertical shoots. So I'll give those a prune. I'll prune it back. Let me have a look here. I think I'm going to, on this branch I've got one kind of going towards the inside. I'm going to take that off. So I'm coming in here, pruning that off. And then I'm going to shorten this one quite dramatically to here, like that. Taking that whole top off, shortening it back. So the same on this branch. I've got a nice horizontal branch here. I'm going to shorten these quite a bit. Not removing them, but just shortening them. Like that. The one behind it here, that can also be reduced back to, there's a nice bud there. I'll just take it right back to here. Like that. Gets that more compact. So this is kind of my apex. I don't want it any higher than that. So this branch at the back is more of a back branch. So that can be shortened or eliminated. I definitely want to keep this area. So I'm just going to prune that back. And I think I'm going to take it right back to here. Like that. And that vertical one, that can really be taken back. So I've got two shoots coming out the back here, so I'm going to take it off just above there. Like that, taking that whole vertical section off. And then this back branch, you can see I've done a pretty severe cut here. And I'm going to look from the front and see, yeah, I don't want to keep this upper one, so I'm going to remove that and keep my lower branch. If you see here, this branch is growing above a smaller one, so I'm going to get rid of the upper one. Like that. So that makes the apex much, much more compact. Yeah, it's looking quite good. Okay, let's step back now and check over the tree and just see if there's any more pruning that's required. Here is a look at the tree, and this is quite an old tree. This is a pink Pixie Bougainvillea that I got, oh, you know, within my first few years of getting into bonsai. So it's probably, you know, around 27 years old. And it was just a pencil thick cutting that from the nursery. It was absolutely straight. I had to do a lot of work on it, root work, top work, to kind of, yeah, slowly create a tree over, you know, 27 years. And I've kept it quite small, which is nice. I wonder if I could even take that apex back a bit more there. I think so. It's getting a little thick. I better prune this back a bit more. Has some nice movement there, but it's just too thick. I need some finer branching up in the apex. Yeah, so, you know, it's got, this branch has developed very thick here, which is fine. It's got taper to it, and it'll develop out and fill in this area. Same with this other lower branch. These ones can be developed more. They're pretty skinny, but it's an old tree. You don't, you know, start doing major work on old trees like this. This is part of the character of it. You kind of, at this stage in its life, you accept what you have as far as major structure and everything, and the rest is just kind of, you know, ramification, detail work, keeping it looking good. Now, one thing I want to do is, if you notice down at the roots here, they're covered up with moss, and I think when I repotted it, I piled the soil up quite high, so I think it's time to expose the roots a bit, get the moss off the trunk, and just do a general cleanup in that area. All right, I'm going to start with the moss, just picking it off with the tweezers. When I last repotted this tree, I straightened it up a bit, and I'm not sure if that was a good idea or not. It used to grow on more of an angle, and I think maybe the angle, you know, having the trunk on a bit of an angle suited it better. So next time I go to repot this tree, I'll reevaluate the planting angle, the pot, everything. You know, maybe once I expose these roots a bit more, it'll look a little better. Maybe, you know, maybe I repotted it more straight to kind of suit the root base more. I'm not sure. I should go back and check the old video. So each tree on the channel has a playlist that I'll have a link in the description below of this video. So if you want to go back in time, you know, quite far back, and see some of the steps I've done on the tree, you can check on some of the earlier videos. It's quite interesting, I find, to go back and see. You can kind of see how one decision affects the tree and kind of builds, and it's interesting seeing the history of the tree. So I'm removing quite a bit of moss from the surface of the soil here too. It was quite thick. You can see the root over on this side. I've got to get this moss off now. Now this did have some flowers on it this year. It flowered quite nicely. They all kind of fell off before I brought the tree in this year. It was usually I bring this tree in earlier, but because I had the glass greenhouse, it was out. And we had good weather in November. It was out fairly late this year. And they always naturally defoliate themselves. And this year, this one defoliated itself inside the glass greenhouse. So it wasn't the light conditions that caused the defoliation. Well, it wasn't suddenly bringing it indoors, the sudden change of light conditions. I guess it was just like the length of the day and the natural light that caused it to drop all its leaves. And you can see now it's starting to grow in all kinds of new ones, which is kind of exciting. Yeah, so the soil was kind of piled up high around the base of this tree. So I'm hoping after I've removed all this moss, it'll look much more stable and mature. It won't look like a stick in a pot. Because root flare is very important on a bonsai, to get that strong root flare at the base of your trunk. And you get that by having nice radial roots all the way around your trunk. Balanced radial roots. And this tree, I had to do a lot of severe root pruning on it to get these roots even close to balance. It seems like every time I repot this, there's one root that just suddenly takes off and doubles in size. And the rest of the roots just stay kind of dormant. Almost like it doesn't want to grow a balanced radial root system. But, you just keep trying. Every time you repot it, you correct as much as you can. And slowly you work towards that goal. So even though this tree is very small, I think it's, getting to be a really powerful looking tree. It's getting mature. Very interesting looking. Yeah, there's a lot of soil piled up here too that I've just got to get rid of. It's too high up the trunk. So this is the former old front here, and you know, it could change again. Maybe I'll like this side better one day. I don't know. It does look pretty good. I like this side too. I think it looks nice from both sides. The only reason I like the other side is that it has a little more movement. You can see there's some branches pruned off here, and the live vein has kind of gone around those scars. It's got a division up here. It kind of leans forward towards you more. So but yeah, both fronts are quite interesting. This side is a little plainer looking, I guess. Not so wild or interesting. It's a more peaceful look, which can be nice in bonsai. You know, you get all these wild looking junipers and stuff at shows, and then when you get a nice peaceful, calm looking tree, it's kind of like, refreshing. You don't want every tree to be wild and gnarly looking. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting this root base exposed, that's for sure. So I think a lot of this moss has got to come off the soil here. I'm going to peel it off. I can try replanting it because it's just too high, the soil level in the pot. And all this moss just grew in here naturally. I didn't plant it. It's just in the greenhouse, everything grows, especially moss. So you can see all the new roots coming off of the tree here. Pretty good. Just kind of brushing the soil away from the root base. So I'm just lowering the soil surface level now, because if I do plant moss again, it'll, you know, be too high in the pot. So I've got to get rid of some of this soil. Yeah, so you can see the buttressed root base. It's quite nice. It really adds a mature look to the tree. Okay, I'm just going to give it a water before I apply the moss. I'll just rinse off the trunk first, kind of. And then I'll give it a good watering. All right, here I go with the water now. Just make sure it's fairly soaked. Make sure all that soil's settled in there. There we go. I'm just trying to clean as much soil off the back of the moss as I can. So I have a thin layer of moss. I think that looks pretty good there. And then I can apply the moss. Pushing the moss down really firmly, getting it like almost integrated into the soil. Like you have to push it really hard, and so there's no air spaces. All right, I'm going to clean up this area. You can see the crackle on the glaze here, which is really nice. I don't know where I got this pot from. I can't remember, but it's a very old pot, and it never had this crackle on the glaze originally, but just from age it's crackled, and it's turned into a really nice pot. I don't think it was like a super expensive pot or anything. You know, there's no maker's stamp on it or anything. I guess I should prune away these roots underneath here. Tidy it up a bit. Yeah, so it's become a very nice pot for this tree. I like the color of it with the tree. All right, I'll clean up now. Then we'll come back and have a final look at the tree. I will plant the big tall cutting here. I think that's worth keeping. Give it away to someone. Let's fly in now and have a look at the tree. It's time now for today's update. Today's update is not a tree, it's my moss planting that I had as an accent at the Toronto show. It's looking really nice. It's very small, very small, but it's quite detailed, and it takes you into a miniature world. The camera lens is right up against it now. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do in a little tiny space. My next update is the plant room here itself. It's been doing really well this year. I've got it all sealed up in plastic. There's no drafts coming in, and the heat is staying in here really well. I've got the heat on low, and it's really warm in here, and it's quite cold outside. So I'm really happy with the plant room. Today I did discover one problem, and I'll show you that. I've got plastic on the windows here. I don't know if you can see it, but you can hear it. And down here you can see, because it's cold by the windows, I'm getting condensation. If you see that on the plastic itself. And that isn't a problem. However, that condensation is running down the plastic. And if I can get you in under the bench here, there's my temple under here. It's going to be quite hard to get in here. But down here, on the very bottom of the floor, right in here, you can see it's a little bit wet. So it's running down the walls, that condensation, onto the floor. So I've got to do something about that. I'm not sure what the best solution is for that moisture down there. Maybe I need to put some towels down there to soak up the moisture and just bring them out into the rain barrel every now and then. I don't know. I can't think of another solution, but yeah, something has to be done. I don't want water pooling on the floor there, or, eventually, over many, many years, it could rot out. My last update for today is my $50 challenge tree. So here it is. It's the Bougainvillea, and it's doing really, really well. You can see all the new leaves on it. Pretty well all the original leaves that it came with have fallen off now, the big older leaves. And all the new ones are quite a bit smaller. So it's looking really good. I'm really happy with it. I do have a lot of moss growing around the base here, which I should clean up. So I'll get my tweezers and just pull that moss away from the trunk. Otherwise, it could cause problems with the bark rotting. And it doesn't look very good growing up the trunk. You can see too, the moss here is getting very thick. And what I do for that is I get my scissors and I just give it a haircut. That keeps it kind of trim. And this doesn't turn the tips of the moss brown or anything. They just keep growing. Clean it away from the lip of the pot here. So I'll continue cleaning this up, and then we'll come back and have a look at it. Here's a look at how much moss I removed. So quite a bit, but the surface of the soil is really nice now. A nice thin layer of moss. So that's what you need to do, and rather than strip off the moss and replace it with fresh, smaller moss, just give it a haircut every now and then, and you'll keep your moss looking really, really good. Here is a look at the $50 challenge tree. All cleaned up, looking good. Could almost go in a show, I think. So you can see where the moss was by the dark line on the trunk here. It was quite thick, so I've pruned it all back, cleaned it away from the trunk. So it's looking quite nice. A beautiful tree, and it only cost $50 for the tree and the pot. It's been quite amazing watching this bougainvillea turn from a straight stick in the soil to something that looks like a mature tree. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.